Hello, Hiroja Shibe here with another Hiroja Bubble, and I thought I would talk about what's going on today. There really isn't much news. The Wired article that was supposed to break down how the cryptocurrency puzzle, the Bitcoin artwork that I talked about yesterday, isn't up. It's going to come in next week. There's also some coin artist news. There's an interview she did on this RPG game that she's doing with art and technology and cryptocurrency with Ether that I will get into when talking about the solving of the artwork. So as soon as that Wired article comes up, I'll be talking about that. A little disappointed, was super excited, was hoping that it would come in today, but I understand that it's going to take time. From the tweet that I saw from the writer, it seems like it was a very clever solve, if you will, so we'll see. But I wanted to talk about a couple things that are happening. Of course, the market's still red. Bitcoin's down. It's dipping. It's crashing. Who knows where it bottom out? I have a link to a Reddit post that talked about previous bottom outs from when 3 of them were from Mt. Gox, which again shows you how important it was and how especially the last one when Mt. Gox totally went under, how the cryptocurrency community rallied and sought other exchanges, sought other companies, built other companies to counter the effect of Mt. Gox, his effect on the cryptocurrency space. At one point in time, I would keep seeing the same stats, and I'm pretty sure it's true. Mt. Gox was responsible for 70% of Bitcoin trading, so that is a tremendous amount. So as a result of this, there was more exchanges that came out, a lot of diversification, different types of exchanges, different markets, different means of purchasing, and just all the while seeking to continue to disrupt, and decentralize this new economic platform. So there's a link if you want to look at the Reddit post about the numbers. It was very fascinating. This is probably the biggest correction everyone's saying since 2013, which seems to be very true. It's very hard when you go up to almost 19K, close to 20. In some places, I think it did hit 20K, down to 8,500 and below. That hurts, especially if you bought at the top. But I think there was a need for a cleansing. I think this is a harsh lesson for a lot of people. And there's 3 thoughts I have on this. One, we as a community need to be better in educating people, getting more of those educational tutorials out there, explaining what this space is about, why the technology is important. You can't just go for the quick cash grab. 2, explaining the fundamentals of financing, because this really fundamentally is the first time anyone's really at the core dealing with finance, dealing with economics. I mean, there is no safety net, unlike credit cards or stock options or ETFs or bonds or even gold and silver to some extent. There is no safety net. You're literally on top of the tightrope, and there's no net below you. And I think a lot of people, the noobs, but even people that have been in this space for a while, fooled themselves a little bit because the price was rising, that this was going to go on forever, I guess, or go on a little bit longer to some extent, and fooled themselves in believing that there was a safety net, that everything was going to be okay, and they're receiving the harsh lesson in this. The third thing, I think, is that even though it's fundamentally important to hold or hodl, I think that when we discuss this with news, when we discuss this with people, we need to stop being a little bit elitist in our discussion, a little less condescending in talking about hodling or holding. It's okay to be proud that you have this strong hand, but it's even better to be able to teach someone how to have the strong hand to hodl, to to be better with their finances, to educate someone, to have that little light bulb pop up in their head, instead of, chiding them and making fun of them a little bit to some point. I think it's fundamental that you do these things, because it's essential to for the space, because we need more people in the space. We need as many diverse people from different economic backgrounds, different parts of the world, different regions, different mindsets in the space. The more people that are here, the stronger cryptocurrency is going to be, the stronger Bitcoin is going to be, the longer it's going to last, the less chance of it being either taken over, subverted, banned, which has not really fundamentally happened, being controlled or just shut down, even though that's not really fundamentally possible. But doing these things so that individuals have a better and greater understanding. I'm looking to try to put up my own educational stuff, my how-tos, if you will, to kind of contribute to this space. Trying to break it down as simply as possible, so that way people can have a stronger reference point. Because when there's more videos about how to do something, about the fundamentals, and less about buying this coin or that coin, what returns you're going to get, the more people will have a greater, stronger frame of reference and know how to navigate this space better for themselves, have a very strong educational point. Because if they're given the wrong kind of information, if their reference point is bad, then how can they make sound decisions? I mean, fundamentally, how can they make sound decisions? It's going to be hard, because the only reference points they have is this bad info from these bad and malicious actors. So that's my thoughts on that. I do feel sorry for the people that have, got wrecked, if you will, in this marketplace. It was bound to happen. If you're still here, hold. That Bitcoin is never going to go to zero. It's not going anywhere. It is the economic platform for the 21st century. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and it's only going to grow. I saw a news report that Lightning Network has 1,000 channels open. Prior to that, I saw like 4.5 Bitcoin is transacting within those channels. So while it's still fairly new, and I caution anyone opening a channel or participating, just know that if you participate, there's still bugs. There's still potential of losing your Bitcoin, so only put them out that you're willing to risk losing. But it's here, and it's zero fees. It's faster payments. I think you're going to start seeing more merchants, especially ones that have been in this space for a while, adopting it and adding it on. I saw a thing about Open Bazaar that they're looking into it for their implementation. So that's a marketplace that will allow for merchants to accept Lightning Network. I think now that we're having this dip and we're having the flushing out of the bad actors, I guess you could say the bad users, if you will, the people that were not here for the right reasons, that didn't read the white papers or understood the technology or even cared about the technology, flushing them out, and basically those who survived the fire, if you will, are going to be stronger from this experience. And now would be the time to start implementing some of these technologies, these dApps, getting back to the fundamentals, stop worrying about price, getting more wallets out there, better designed wallets, particularly wallets that allow you to control the fees that you're sending out there, allowing for the option for SegWit if you choose to have a SegWit address, allowing for the storage or cold storage of all these other different tokens and cryptocurrencies. A lot of these new tokens and stuff don't even have wallets, which is mind-boggling to me that there's not a wallet. That's why certain coins, even though they have high value, I personally have not purchased, for the simple fact that they don't even have a wallet. They're using my Ether, but they don't have their own personal wallet for you to download, or even a paper wallet for you to do off-site. So certain fundamentals are not getting done. And it's basically, I think, to give an analogy, it's like, because of the Super Bowl or something like that is going on in sports. Thinking about a team that has won consistently and constantly for a very long time, and then failing at the big game. That could happen to the Patriots. Who knows? And finding out that they lose, kind of like the Cavaliers losing to the Warriors. A lot of it came down to certain fundamentals that they weren't doing, and they got outballed, if you will. So when that happens, really good teams, great teams, they take a step back, they check their ego, and they see, what it is that they're fundamentally themselves doing wrong individually, and then what it is that they're contributing to the group, secondly, and third, working as a group to fundamentally get back to the basics, and then they rise again and go on another run of like championships, if you will. And I think that's what it is with where we're going right now with the cryptocurrency space, is that we weren't doing the fundamentals completely clearly, or at least all of us were. There were many that were. They were, bogging down and things of that nature. I think Bitcoin Core's wallet with SegWit is about to launch sometime either the end of this month or the beginning of next month, and it will have SegWit on there, so you can be able to add that. People are actually actively running nodes on their own computers now, or they're buying like Bitsy, which is a company that sells Bitcoin nodes already implemented, already done together for you. So all you have to do is just update, connect to the internet and update to the recent, point of the time that you're at. So if you ordered it like 2 weeks ago, maybe you're 2 weeks behind or something like that. More and more nodes are coming online. People are actually implementing their own Lightning nodes. Fundamentals like that. People are looking at wallets. They're looking at exchanges. BISC, decentralized exchanges, are coming on. People are seeking to have better implementations of everything, putting code out there, having discussions. But having discussions are not just for the talk's sake, like in an academic sense, where you're writing all these theories and it's a wonderful idea on paper, but actually taking that paper concept and implementing it and seeing if it actually fundamentally works in the real world. So there's that going on. Did see a little bit of news here in the States where a U.S. Senator has introduced a piece of legislation where tokens are exempt from the securities laws, where they're not considered securities. I think that's great. I think it's fundamentally important. I don't think it's going to get passed, personally, because there's too much at stake, particularly with the old class and the old way of investing, where you have to have like $1 million and be accredited and go through all these different types of not only governmental agencies, but different businesses in order to be able to have like a really sound, strong investment. So there's going to be a lot of pushback against that. I know a lot of people are fed up with ICOs. I fundamentally am not against the idea of ICOs. I think there are some sound ICOs out there, but I know there's a tremendous amount of shit ICOs out there. There was a lot of bad actors, scams, and individuals that took advantage of the craze, if you will. And again, I think as the shakeout is occurring now, you're going to see the ones that actually have utility, have purpose, have a function, have a good development team, have progress going, implementing their wallets, implementing the product, are the ones that are going to stay here. And you're going to see a lot of stuff get flushed out. You're going to see a lot of coins drop out of the top 100, drop out of the 200, drop out of the 300. I don't think you're going to see, simply because someone creates a coin or a token, for people to buy into it any longer, really. That methodology is gone. Just putting up a website and saying this is a talkity-talk token that's supposed to help, transmit voice data across the blockchain. You're not going to fundamentally see that. I'm sure there's going to be some other ways. There's always, where there's money to be made, there's always going to be malicious actors. But I think the space is being inoculated against that. And I think it's important that ICOs are here, because when there is a business, and it's so hard fundamentally for people to raise money to start their own business. I mean, to do an LLC, at least, you have to have not only paying for the LLC, right, and making sure the papers are in order, but you also have to make sure in some states have a tax set aside already, fundamentally. So, like for example, in the state of California, you have to have $800 set aside to pay tax for that year, whether it be if you start in January, you have to have it due by April 15th, tax day. So you've started in January, you haven't really got up and operating, but you already have a tax bill you have to pay. Same thing if you did it April 16th, you still have to pay that $800. You have until before the next tax year. And so stuff like that can be a little bit of a burden for a lot of people, because fundamentally, particularly in the States, the way the economic structure is here, there's a lot of people that do not have the fundamental network to lean on to ask somebody for like $500 or $100 or $1,000 to start up a business. That's still a very privileged thing. I mean, people see these stories all the time where they raise money from their friends and family. There's a lot of people that do not, their families and stuff, if they're making $22,000 a year or $32,000 a year or combined $45,000, don't really have that extra $50 or $100 to give to another individual for, even no matter how sound of an idea is, something that they might not even get a return on, or even if you're trying to help your brother out starting a business, they could potentially fail. Businesses fail all the time. So you don't fundamentally have that money to give and may not necessarily be willing to give it. Going to a bank and getting a loan, it's really, really hard. And not only that, but there's a lot of institutional discrimination, and whether it be against women, people of color, certain types of businesses. Just look at the porn industry. Even the tobacco industry, like the smoke shops, certain businesses have a difficult time raising capital funds. Look what's happened to the marijuana industry and all the hoops and hurdles that they do to secure cash, because they can't open a bank account, so they can't accept debit and credit cards. And most people individually, basically because the stigma associated with marijuana, don't want to slide their card within that business, so they pull out cash to purchase, whether for medicinal or recreational purchases, depending on the state you're in. To purchase marijuana. So they have to have these safes, they have to have these security guards, they have to find warehouses, they might even join up with a group of like a collection of other businesses to store their cash. They have to pay everything in cash, their employees in cash, their bills in cash. That's very tedious and time consuming. Even if you were to exchange that out and go to get some money orders, you can't get money orders from the bank. You're going to have to get money orders from the post office or some kind of secondary business like a Western Union or MoneyGram that pay those type of fees. And you go to the same place all the time to get your money order, someone's going to hit you up. So there's really not much give. And even if with crypto, like I think there's like Potcoin, and even they use the Bitcoin and Dash in a few places, it's still not distributed enough in that industry for them not to handle so much cash, if you will. Because even if they were to turn around and purchase cryptocurrency as a holding mechanism instead of having cash, if you will, their buyers are not necessarily always paying in cryptocurrency. They're still dealing with cash. So there's that. And there's probably not, like when it comes to Bitcoin, there's not enough cryptocurrencies for that marketplace, for the amount of cash that is transacting. Because even if you use local Bitcoin, that local Bitcoin person, they're going to have to be holding that cash. Are they going to deposit that amount, like 10,000, 50 grand into their bank account? They have to make that all accountable, and that can get very dicey. So there's stuff like that, fundamentals like that, that makes it difficult to raise funds and get into a space. So with that in mind, I think ICOs in general, the concept of them is important and is good, because it allows for people that have a great idea, that have a great business, to be able to get the economic squeak, if you will, a little oil to get their business generated and going. Not only that, but it allows for people to be able to invest in small amounts. I mean, if you have like maybe 5 or 6 like really good, solid companies, not to say 5, just go with 10, and say maybe only 3 of them are really solid. They're making a profit, the rest are garbage. Well, those 3 end up paying for the 7, but you would never have the opportunity to invest in like 10 companies even now. Like everyone talks about Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook or some of these big tech companies where people wanted to invest in but couldn't because they didn't have the means to do so. Unless they worked for the company, they weren't going to get any stock options, and even if they were going to the market, it's still without the reach. They get into the very, very beginning, which is very important, the ICO level, really, and not really necessarily completely the stocks, because you have to hold it really for a fundamentally long time. So there's that. I think it's important that this shakeout is occurring. I'm buying what I can when I can, and continue to do so, and continue to hold, and looking to see what I can contribute. I'm not a very technical person. I don't have the technical know-how to do some of the stuff that needs to be done for the space, but I'm looking into learning how to change that with myself, to see what I can learn and what I can do personally. But fundamentally looking into doing these how-to videos, which will be free. They're not going to be, you don't have to pay for sessions or anything like webinars or anything like that. They're just going to be up here that says, how to use a wallet. What is a crypto? What is blockchain? Why is the technology important? I had done this on my podcast a while back, using the Shibe. I think I'm going to just do it again, but do it in video format, talking about the philosophy of the technology here. What brings the different groups of people here? The libertarians, the communists, the anarchists, the capitalists, the socialists, all these different groups that are utilizing cryptocurrencies for the different economic reasons and principles that they think that might suit their political needs. Which kind of makes, I don't think Bitcoin's agnostic. I don't think that's the word. But it fundamentally, overall, even though Bitcoin and blockchain and cryptocurrency in general is political, because after all, we are creating an economic system without the approval of a centralized authority. That makes it fundamentally at the very core very political. And just talking about the different fundamentals of the space. I guess I'll go into that when I do those videos. But I think it's important to understand and know, and for people to be informed and realize, what is important for them, what they should look for in a coin. Why are they in this space? What are they seeking to get out of it? If it's just a quick buck and turn, then guess what? This is what happens in a marketplace when you're looking for a quick buck and turn. And if you're not careful or cautious, or I want to say cautious, but know how to play the risk, if you will, you're going to get wrecked. But if you're looking for something that's going to be there when you're in your 50s and your 60s and your 70s, and you're looking for an investment that's going to hold, if you will, then you need to learn the fundamentals. You need to understand the fundamentals and see what it is you should invest in, why you're investing in it, how to hold it, how to build off of it, how to contribute, and how to help this space grow so that fundamentally your investment grows and it will be there when you're 70, 80 years old and have something to sustain you. Not only sustain you, but pass down generationally, which for many people, that is not a reality. Most people are not capable of passing down generational wealth. And now, fundamentally speaking, there's all different levels of social and economic levels where people now, fundamentally speaking, can and could pass down generational wealth. There's not going to be that attrition. There's not going to be certain societal hurdles or economic hurdles that will prevent you from doing so. So that's it. Those are my thoughts for the day. Thank you all for listening. Like, subscribe, share, comment below. Tell me what you think, or why is the reason that you're in this space, and what you think fundamentally needs to be done to help improve the cryptocurrency space. So until next time, woo. not really being able to talk today. So until next time, to the moon.
What are you? What is that?